Hi guys, and welcome to yet another video. My name is Tasha and I'm the founder of Financial Marathon. Now, I started Financial Marathon as a way to document my wealth journey since I'm in my 20s, and I'd really like to look back in a couple of years and just see how I got it started and look at how it's going then. And I'd also like this to be a platform where other young people like me would get encouraged to actually be active on their wealth creation journeys. I also have a website where I upload posts on personal finance. I do that 4 posts a week, so make sure to check that out. I'll leave the link in the description box below, so check that out. Now let's get to today's video, and I really hope you enjoy. If you do, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a like. Okay, so today's topic is a really interesting one. Let me just say interesting one. I'd like to talk about inflation today, and I'd like to talk about how it affects people and the current situation and all that. We'll get to that. So just a brief introduction to what inflation is. For those who don't know, inflation is basically when your money loses its purchasing power, right? So take for example 100 euros. So if I have 100 euros today, the amount of items that I would be able to buy with this 100 euros is far less compared to what I would have been able to buy 30 years ago. So if we turn the clock backwards, back to 1992, I believe that's 30 years ago. If we go back in time to 1992, with this 100 euros, I'd have been able to purchase goods worth 175 euros. So yeah, that is what inflation really is. So inflation is basically when your money loses its purchasing power over time. And inflation is bound to happen. If inflation won't stop anytime soon, it will happen because, there's so many factors that affect inflation, and it's not really things that we can stop. And especially like as long as an economy is growing, there's always going to be inflation. So yeah, one major effect of inflation, like one of the major negative effects, because inflation has positive effects and it has negative effects. Let me get to the major negative effect first, then I'll get to the positive. So one major negative effect of inflation is that the poverty gap between the haves and the have-nots kind of widens. It really widens, and this is because you find that when inflation occurs, the cost of living also goes up. So if the cost of living goes up, that means that the prices of day-to-day items, rice and all that, it basically goes up. If it goes up, for the have-nots, like those people who don't really have too much disposable income, you find that they start struggling to try and keep up with the living standards. And this just means that the gap basically widens, because you find that the haves, the rich, it doesn't really impact them, but for the people who literally count their pennies, it will affect them negatively, because you find that they won't be able to keep up with the cost of living, and they have to start relying on the government for help. So yeah, you find that inflation will actually widen this gap between the haves and the have-nots, because if the have-nots already didn't have enough disposable income and inflation happens and everything, like the prices of everything just shoot up, then it's obvious that they'll struggle more to keep up with the living standards, which obviously means that they have to look for help elsewhere, So let's get to the positive. Now, the positive effect of inflation is that the economy grows. How does the economy grow? The economy grows because if the living standards go up, right, so the prices of everything just shoot up, that means that people will be spending more money, to acquire things that they need day to day, whether it's food, whether it's gas, to travel around and all that. People will basically use up more money, and the more money that basically circulates in the system, that generally means that the economy will eventually grow. Businesses will be booming, and so there's always a good side and there's always a bad side. So on the good side, the economy can grow, and on the bad side is the poverty gap between the haves and the have-nots basically just keeps widening and widening, because the have-nots really can't keep up with the standards of living, and the haves basically don't, they don't notice anything. Okay, so I've been living in Germany for a while now, and I have observed that this economy is it is a rich economy. It is a rich economy, and one way you can know how an economy is doing, like whether they're doing well or not doing so well, is basically how they take care of those who are at the bottom. And in Germany, for example, if you really can't keep up with the living standards, they have a system where they can help you out, right? So there's this system they've put in place, which basically the government gives you money to, you know, sustain your living, to make sure that you're not suffering, and that way you can be able to, you know, keep up with the living standards, that at least you know that you have food at the end of the day, you know you have water, you know you have a roof over your head, which I think is a really good thing, because from my birth country there's nothing like that. So the fact that the government actually ensures that everyone has a roof over their head, everyone has food on the table at the end of the day is really a good thing, and that really shows that the economy is stable, to say. I'm not saying that the system is perfect, because there's always, you know, there's always a glitch somewhere. There's always something that doesn't fit everything, because, you know, there's never that one size fits all. The fact that the government can actually give money to you if you're not in a very good financial position, I think that's a really, really good thing. And it's really something that, you know, the citizens should be grateful for, because not everyone gets such a privilege. Yeah. So the fact that the German economy is actually doing so well means that the living standards are actually really high, because life here is expensive. Everything is so expensive, and with the inflation, things kind of have gotten worse. For example, let's just talk about the gas prices. I have seen gas prices go from €1.20 per liter to €2.20 per liter. Like the same liter just costs €1 more. And it may seem like not so much when you just look at, you know, face value, but it ends up being a lot. You find that that's not the only thing that has actually gone up. There's so many things that have gone up. And allow me to just read an article that I found that was released 2 days ago by the Bundesamt here. Okay, so I'm reading here an article that was posted by the Bundesamt. It basically just looks at how cost of living has increased over time. And for example, here we have energy, right? And when energy, I'm talking about gas and all that. So you find that last year, November of 2021, energy was at 22.1%. In December, it dropped to 18.3%. And then in January, it shot up to 20.5%. In February, it rose to 22.5%. So you see that the energy prices are going up. So, and I think a major reason for the energy prices going up is partially because of the pandemic we had 2 years ago. That is, you know, the effects are still being felt right now, and also because of the current war that is happening here in Europe, which is also heavily affecting the energy prices. I'm also looking here at food articles. So in November 2021, it was at 4.5%. In December, it shot to 6%. Then in January this year, it went to 5.0%, and February it was at 5.3%. So if we compare January and February, it's basically gone up. Food is now a bit more expensive than it was a month ago. Oh, and also on the energy now, because Germany uses a lot of gas, we're huge consumers of gas, and since Germany doesn't produce gas, it imports most, if not all of it. If the energy prices are going up, they also have to go up. So that means that you find that things like rent has also gone up because of the energy prices, and it's not something we can control. So you find that rent has gone up. Now you find food has gone up, transport has gone up because of the fuel prices and all that. So one thing that I'm still not understanding is that even though the living standards has basically gone up, the salaries being paid out are still remaining the same since inflation happens, right? Inflation, like I said, is not something you can really do away with, because if you do away with it, then that just means that the economy will stagnate, and at some point it will start going downwards. So you know what inflation is. The only way you can, you know, kind of save your money is basically try and beat inflation. And the only proven way to beat inflation is by investing. Now, how does investing work? For example, when you invest, you basically put your money to work for you. So as long as your money is not seated somewhere in a bank account, because you find that if, for example, you have 20,000 euros in the bank seated today, and you just do nothing with this money, just give it 5 years and the same 20,000 will be worth 14,000. And this is due to inflation, right? And you find that if you really want to beat this inflation, you have to be ahead of the game. And to be ahead of the game, you have to invest, because the moment you invest, you have to know where you're investing, and you have to know what's in it for you, right? And for example, if you invest in the stock market, you get returns of about 7% per year. You see, if you just leave money in your bank giving you 0.02%, and with the inflation rate being at 7.3%, you can calculate the difference. The difference is huge, right? You're losing more than 6% of your money, which is just because you just let your money sit in an account. So the best way you can actually beat inflation is to invest your money. So make sure you invest your money. There's so many ways you can get started on investing. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and have a great week.